Any opposed? Okay. We're adjourned from our work study session, and then we are going to go into our regular session, and it looks like the Mayor's Youth Council is joining us. Hey, great. You know, if you sit over here, you get on camera. If you sit over there, oh, you're just like, you notice everybody's on that side of the room? Okay. I will call the regular session to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our invocation. With us this evening is Pastor Rod Warrenberg from Desert Creek Fellowship Church.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your goodness to us. Father, tonight we ask that your presence would be here. Father, we ask for your insight and your wisdom. Father, I pray for this council. I pray, Lord, that you would help them to make good decisions for our community. Help them to lead us and guide us in a right way. Father, minister to them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Before we get started, I have an announcement. The next public informational meeting regarding the property tax will be held on Thursday, March 8th at 9 a.m. at the Community Center Ballroom. All of you who couldn't make the last meeting because it was in the evening, this is one in the morning for you. Please come out, and we have a wonderful presentation with all the facts, and there'll be plenty of opportunity to ask questions. Now we have an update. Does anyone have any reports? I don't think anyone has anything. No one mentioned it. Okay, an update on McDowell Mountain Preservation Commission regarding the recent activities. Grady?
Well, I believe that Mr. Bill Meyer, who is the chair of the...
Wait a minute. I already did a roll call in the other meeting, so I forgot to do one on this
apologize.
meeting, too. No, my fault. That was Bev giving me the evil eye.
Mayor Kavanaugh,
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown,
Here.
Councilmember DePorter,
Here.
Councilmember Magazine,
Here.
Councilmember Yates,
Present.
Councilmember Tolis,
Here.
Councilmember Leger.
Here.
All right. Okay, now, Grady?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're pleased tonight to have Bill Myers from the
Thank you.
MMPC here to give a presentation. We do this periodically with him to go over their objectives, and as you know, we have a very active commission here, and he's got some really exciting things to go over and share with you. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Bill.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Grady. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm happy to be here. I know you've got a big full agenda tonight, so I'll only take a few minutes, and I'll go run through a number of things, and then maybe a question or two after I give a brief presentation. I think I've emailed each of you the 2018 MMPC objectives. There's 18 of them, and some of them are carried over from prior years. Some of them have already been accomplished, and some of them will be going on forever. For example,
The big path.
Pardon?
It's a big trail.
The big trail, and even more trails. The most important objective, I think, and you folks are very much aware of this, is the completion of the trailhead. I want to thank you guys, and especially Mayor Kavanaugh, for making that thing happen. So on behalf, really, of the commissioners, the talented and dedicated staff, some of them right here, and hundreds of volunteers, I just want to say thank you for making this all happen. So with that, I'm just going to talk about a couple of the objectives. I could probably talk half hour on any one of them, but I'm just going to run through real quickly a couple of them. We have 4 work groups, and as you might recall, on the first work group is grand opening of the trailhead. I understand we'll be having a busload of everybody going up there Thursday, 10:30, to see what the progress is on making the trailhead. That's good. And probably even if it is done in midsummer, I'm suggesting we don't have a grand opening till the weather cools down. October, November, something like that. when we had the Andrews Kinsey dedication of that individual trail. You had to walk several hundred yards, and a couple of people got tired and hurt and fell down, so I think it's better to have one the weather cools down just a smidgen. Two town fairs. For 10 years I've been involved in this. We've had a joint tent of the MMPC and Conservancy. We did again this year, and even though the wind tried to blow us away one day, it was a very successful fair. We had over 1,300 people that we talked to. I'm always amazed at how many people live in our town and don't know anything about the preserve or the 3 in-town trails we have. We give out about 2,000 maps also. Trailhead Work Group, again, thrilled to death that it's going, and I'm anxious to see it this Thursday. Trail counters, some of you folks have asked me how many people walk on the trails or run on the trails. And I've always given a wishy-washy answer, to tell you the truth. You know, it's a whole bunch, or it's been many more since we finally got access to the northern part of our preserve. And but with trail counters, a year from now or maybe sooner, we'll be able to give some other specific numbers. I think you'll all be surprised how many people use those trails. Test 911, as you probably know, we have probably the safest preserve in the state. Right now, we've had 0 deaths in our preserve. The park to our north and Scottsdale to our west cannot say that. And part of that reason is 911 works. We had our final 911 test last Friday. I wasn't able to be there, but thanks to Jason Payne, the assistant fire chief, he was able to coordinate that, and so we had another 911 test. We have excellent coverage in our preserve. I always wanted to go up there myself and just call 911 to see what would happen, but as you probably know, what would happen is I'd get arrested and thrown in jail. There we go. But it's working very well. Recognition of the Conservancy. I'm on the Conservancy board also, and they're the guys that have the blood, sweat, and tears. I give them accolades every time we have a meeting here and talk very positively about them. And this month they got the Legacy Award by the Lower Verde Valley Hall of Fame. So they're getting some additional recognition there. But those guys, I've only been able to go about 5 or 6 times this year, and they go about 30 Saturdays. Anybody want to create some blisters on their hands, come on out. The last one that I'll talk briefly about is the coordination with Scottsdale on their preserve and the regional park to our north. I probably talk to somebody there 2-3 times a month. And the most recent thing that I've talked to some folks about is that they're going through a new master plan. And it could have some bearing on our town. As you know, we have 2 miles, sometimes referred to the Elman property, on our northern border. That's their southern border. So their master plan could have some bearing on our town. But listen, I know you got a full agenda, and I won't take up any more time, but do you have any questions of me?
Just a comment. I think it's been a great partnership with the Conservancy and with us. And I know that you are always complimenting us and saying thank you, but you are the driving force. I know that because you're always calling me.
That's true.
So I mean, it obviously it takes somebody as a leader to make this happen, and that's you, Bill. So we want to thank you for everything that you've done to make this happen.
Well, it's a really collective effort, and hopefully this year we'll have access to the preserve with the trailhead, and you'll be able to step out of your car and walk 5 feet or many miles, and it's going to be a very positive boon for this town.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You got a lot of young people in the audience. They might want to, join those trailblazers. All right. Can I go on to speaker cards? Do we have any?
No.
Call to the public? No? Okay. Then we have 2 items on the consent agenda, and I need a motion to accept as written.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call on that.
Mayor Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember DePorter,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Yates.
Aye.
Councilmember Toles.
Aye.
Councilmember Magazine. Councilmember Leger.
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
All right, we're going to our regular agenda, consideration of appointing 3 planning and zoning commissioners to each 2-year term. And I move to appoint Matthew Boyk, Anne-Marie Crumby, and Scott Schlossberg to each serve a 2-year term beginning on March 7, 2018, and ending September 30th, 2020. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Okay, I don't think any of those 3 are here, but I just want to thank them for volunteering to be on our Planning and Zoning Commission. It's a lot of work to be on that commission, a lot of studying, a lot of reading the reports, and so I thank them for taking the time, and I know they each have expertise in their fields, and they will have a lot to be able to give to that commission. So, thank you very much. All right, we'll go on to consideration of a cooperative purchase agreement contract, number C 2018-083 with Pro M Party and Event Rentals for up to $75,000 with the option of 4 one-year renewal terms. And that is Grady.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the item before you is a contract with a company known as Pro Am Party and Events, and we use this company extensively. The services of a company like this provide restrooms for events, the fencing that you see, the tents. We couldn't really do this type of work. If you imagine going to the 4th of July, you've seen quite a bit of tents and other types of equipment that is provided. This company really is very, very useful. They actually, I believe, have the contract with the Chamber that just put on the Great Fair. So staff recommends approval. Grace is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Questions for Grace? No questions? Speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then I'm looking for a motion.
Move approval. Mayor, second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Sorry, Grace. That's it. Okay, consideration of 4 budget transfers from the general government contingency. $2,246.25 for holiday lighting of Town Hall, $600,000 for additional contract costs for the Fire Station Number 2 relocation, $50,000 for the May 15, 2018 special election for the primary property tax ballot question, and $160,000 for additional unbudgeted interim town attorney costs. And 1 budget transfer from Public Works to the Cottonwoods Maintenance District in the amount of $900 for an unbudgeted increase in landscaping costs. Grady?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the item before you, we do these on a routine basis. These are known as quarterly transfers, and we do this to ensure that we have adequate funding to go ahead and pay some of the items that were listed. A special note, when we had the council approve the contract for the construction of the fire station, we neglected to have the $600,000 transfer. Normally, that would have been done at the same time that you were approving the contract for that, and we do apologize for that, but that is necessary to go ahead and have that done this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. If not, we also have the finance director here who may be able to do so as well.
Councilman Leger?
Thank you, Mayor. Craig, I had a couple questions. Regarding the additional dollars for attorney services, to date, have we expended what we budgeted for FY 17-18?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And the number, $160,000, that's for the remaining of this fiscal year, which is approximately 4 months?
I believe it was 5 months.
Oh, 5 months, okay. Very good. You're better at math than I am, obviously. With respect to that $160,000, how did you arrive at that figure?
Since the appointment of the interim town attorney, we've looked at their average monthly billings. We understand that there's an expected learning curve for them to better understand the town's functions.
And so I took an average of their bills that they had submitted over the remaining portion of the year.
Okay, so that 160 is not a fixed cost then?
It is not,
So it's a projected cost?
correct.
At this point in time, so it could be,
Hopefully could be less.
thank you.
Councilman Yates?
Madam Mayor, along the same lines, and Mitesh, you and your firm are doing a tremendous job, but where are we on the RFP or what the next steps are that we already discussed at our council retreat?
Thank you, Councilmember Yates. As you recall, we had this item for discussion at the council retreat earlier this year, and the consensus was for us to go and look at the RFP process. And one of the things that our Administrative Services Director pointed out is that there are a couple cities that have a fixed price contract with law firms that do this kind of work, and where they reset themselves after kind of negotiating the fees after a year or so to see what the actual workload and such is. And so we are going to be probably coming back to you at some point in the near future. We did discuss continuing through the end of this fiscal year with the current firm, and then we're going to do a RFP that we'll probably be bringing back to you probably around May or so.
And again, Madam Mayor, to elaborate on it, there's a model out there so everyone knows. It's a flat rate on the annual basis, and then they adjust based on the use.
Right. We do believe, after talking to some of the cities that have gone that route, that this would be a particular way that would help us cost contain our legal costs.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay, Councilman Leger?
Craig, another follow-up question. And just to clarify, I think what Councilman Yates had just mentioned, if you take what we budgeted, $306,840, and you add 160, that's $466,800. So our expectation is that if we get a fixed contract, we can be significantly lower than those two numbers added together.
I would like that to be that way, yes.
Okay, so it's the idea that we had a fixed contract and we do not have that no longer. We're just kind of billing per service, which is what that additional dollars is needed for, that 160.
I'd like to point out, we did not have a fixed cost contract with Gus Rosenfeld. It was based on an hourly rate, and I just projected what the annual cost would be.
When I review the budget for the last 5 years, though, it usually averaged around $315,000 going back and forth.
I haven't looked at the average for the last couple of years, so I can't address that.
Well, that's neither here nor there. I think that when we do go out and have this conversation, we need to look at realistic numbers. That's my point. So, thank you.
Councilman Magazine?
Yeah, Craig, presuming that this item passes, do you know what the balance would be in the general government contingency, approximately?
After all of these, if these budget transfers are approved, we are looking at a very minor amount remaining in the general government.
For the fiscal year?
For the fiscal year, correct.
Greg, if I could just point out something too. Contingency is also provides expenditure authority or appropriation authority, correct?
Correct.
So what we do is each year we not only budget money in contingency, but in the case of the $600,000, which is the lion's share of the money that is before you tonight, that's actually in the capital fund, is it not correct? But the contingency is we're asking for them to approve the transfer, which would be from the capital fund, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it would be coming out of the general fund contingency.
Okay.
Could I follow up there?
Sure. Councilman Magazine?
Presuming over the next 4 months, we have other, quote, needs, where would they come from? For example, let's take these same items. Let's assume they came up 2 months from now. What would we do?
If I was performing my duties, I would have to advise staff that those items could not be undertaken.
That's what I thought you'd say, and I'd like to say to staff, please don't bring us anything that isn't absolutely needed. Thank you.
Any other? Councilman Tolis.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify once again, at our budget retreat, isn't it accurate that the monthly costs for our legal fees were approximately $7,000 a month above what the average was previously? And we had discussed at that time that it was due to all of the Adaro Canyon, things that they had to get up to speed with that would not normally have had taken place if you had consistency with the same firm, let's say. In this case, you came in, it was about a $7,000 roughly increase. So that would be $40,000, not $180,000. And wouldn't we have already budgeted for the legal fees that we had expected back from July to this coming July already in the existing budget?
We would have, I'm not recalling the number of 7,000.
It was about above and beyond what we were already paying. So it just seems like a significant amount more that we're trying to allocate towards the expenses for legal fees.
Or maybe Craig can check on that and get back to you on it, okay? Right, good. Okay, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
No, any further discussion?
Mayor, if I may. Craig, in response to Councilman Magazine's question, this was an extraordinary year for us in terms of having a much larger general fund, contingency fund. Is that an accurate?
That is very correct.
Yeah. Under normal circumstances, it would have been very difficult to locate these dollars, I would imagine.
That is correct.
And how was this an anomaly this year? How did our fund become as large as it is and now as small as it is?
Since I've been with the town, the contingency has run between 100,000 and 200,000. Last year was unusual in that I budgeted and projected for a 10% increase in MCSO's contract cost, and to our surprise, MCSO came in as a decrease of about 3.5%. So all of that additional funding was redirected to the general fund contingency. In addition, my estimates for state shared revenues were lower than what was actual. What was projected by the league. So that excess was also devoted and directed to the general fund contingency. The alternative would have selfishly meant a lot of work on my staff's part to update the budget numbers and present a different revenue forecast or expenditure outlook for council. We, with discussion of the town manager, opted to put those monies into the general fund contingency. So that amounted to roughly an additional $700,000.
So in retrospect, it sounds like that was a good decision
Yes.
in terms of where we're at today. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Yates?
Yeah, I know the quarter's not over, Q1, but our sales tax revenue collection for year end, we were kind of on budget or slightly behind because of the seasonal. Do you have any wag or any guess as to where we are now? Or
Both January and I anticipating February were above my budgeted estimates.
So there may be a little bit more cushion there moving in for the next few months.
There would be in revenue dollars. Unfortunately, we don't have the expenditure authority to go along with those. So the problem we face is, even though we take in more money than we budgeted, we don't have the expenditure authority to spend that additional.
Madam Mayor, I guess what I'm saying is the money that's coming in, the sales tax revenue goes into our general fund. So to piggyback on what Councilman Magazine's saying, the what ifs if something else, I don't want to say catastrophic, but some other huge need, there is some other funding. You can't use the general fund?
We cannot, not unless we've anticipated it in advance and put it in expenditures.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
But Craig, there is something that we've had some savings every year on operating budgets. And so you know, we can project what those savings might be, and that might be something that could get us through.
No, we don't have, it's not in the budget, we don't have the expenditure authority to spend.
I understand that. What I'm saying is if we can anticipate that we're not going to expend the dollars that are appropriated,
Correct,
that we could transfer those. That's what I'm suggesting.
yes.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Magazine?
I'm probably going to state the obvious, but you can't state it enough. If we didn't have that extra money that came along that we didn't expect going into the general government contingency, then we would have had a pretty serious problem.
Correct.
And I think this just underscores where we are fiscally as a town, that we are running onto the shoals. We've got serious problems that aren't going to get better, they're going to get worse. You agree? Say yes.
Don't put him on the spot. You don't have to answer that.
Debits equal credits.
Any other questions for Craig? Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then a motion to accept?
Mayor, so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Okay, consideration of the Second Amendment to Cooperative Purchase Agreement C 2017-045 between M. Artana Development and Construction Incorporated and the Town of Fountain Hills in the amount not to exceed $2,500,000 for asphalt replacement and miscellaneous work. Grady?
Thank you. Mayor and Council, the item before you is essentially the contract that allows us to do our mill and overlay and slurry seal. We had this cooperative purchasing agreement that was actually approved by council last fall. However, it ended in, I believe, January, February of this year. And so what we're wanting you to do is reauthorize this. We anticipate doing the mill and overlay this fiscal year and then slurry seal at the beginning of next fiscal year under this current contract. So staff recommends approval of this. Without the approval, we would not be able to move forward on our pavement management needs that we have for this fiscal year.
Okay.
And our Public Works Director is here to answer any questions.
Questions for either Grady or Justin? Councilman Magazine?
We've been telling the public that we're budgeting $2 million per year for pavement maintenance and so on. That if the primary property tax passes, we'd have another $4 million, which would give us $6 million. How does this relate to those numbers?
This actually overlaps 2 fiscal years, correct, Justin?
That is correct.
So we haven't expended the $2 million this year, and then $500,000 we would anticipate probably spending next fiscal year. And then we still have more needs next year.
That's for sure. Thank you.
Councilman Leger?
Thank you, Mayor. So Justin, after 18-19, we'll be done, assuming we stay in the zone methodology, will we be done with Zone 1, or is there still more work to do over there?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Leger, no, we will be there for an additional 2 years based on the current funding levels.
Okay.
So the 18-19, we will do a minimal amount of additional milling and a little bit of slurry seal, and then we will finish that up in the 19-20. So ideally, with the current funding levels as projected, we would be able to finish up Zone 1, which is the northeast quadrant of the town, in 19-20.
In the event the property tax passed and those dollars were available, additional dollars, that could expedite that schedule?
We do not know that at this time,
I know
simply
that.
because we've not received our payment analysis. What we intend to do is bring that data to the mayor and council and allow them to review that data and then give direction to staff based on the direction we received earlier, which was the worst of the worst, to address those.
And
So,
Justin, that's going to be April sometime that we
that is-
anticipate receiving
That is correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Nope. Okay, then I need a motion to accept.
Mayor, so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Okay, consideration of cooperative purchase agreement C 2018-092 between Road Safe Traffic Systems Incorporated and the Town of Fountain Hills, the amount not to exceed $30,000 annual for temporary traffic control devices. Ready, Justin?
Thank you, Mayor. Justin's here to answer questions on this if I can adequately describe this. Basically, this company contract that we have would allow us to do some barricades and other types of traffic controls when we have events in town that are the town's own events. We charge other groups. They actually contract directly with these types of companies. So like when we have our own events here in town, this company would essentially handle all the temporary traffic control devices that we have for like road closures and things of that sort. Our Public Works Director, Mr. Weldy's here to answer any questions, just in case I didn't handle that for you.
Questions for Justin?
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Yates?
Thank you. Director,
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Yates.
how many events will this fund? This is for the year, or for just the balance of the fiscal?
This actually bridges 2 fiscal years. So with this approval of this contract, we'll be able to handle the special events that are already scheduled and approved for the remainder of this fiscal year, and then it will bridge into the next fiscal year.
So, Madam Mayor, as a follow-up, were these unbudgeted for this year, or we've had so many events, we needed some more?
The contract expired that we were using
Oh, it's not-
previously.
okay, gotcha.
And so this is a whole new contract, and we're using a cooperative use piggyback from the county on this.
Tremendous. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Hey,
Director.
Justin, when another company, another event comes in that's not ours, can they use any company they want to close roads, or do they have to use the one that we use?
Mayor
How does that
Kavanaugh,
work?
they can use any licensed, bonded, and insured traffic control company that meets the requirements that are outlined in Chapter 16 of the Town Code.
Okay, good to know. Any other questions for Justin? All right, speaker cards.
No, Mayor.
Okay, motion,
So moved.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you. We're up to discussion with possible direction staff related to the legislative bulletin. Grady.
Thank you, Mayor. I was fortunate yesterday to attend a East Valley Managers meeting over in Gilbert. And Ken Strobuck, the executive director of the League of Cities and Towns, was there and he gave an update. And you probably recall seeing this one topic, which is being handled by Senate Bill 1392 and House Bill 2479. It basically impacts the cities and towns on their collection of TPT or sales tax on digital goods and services. This would have a major impact on our town and other cities throughout the state. In fact, if these competing, or not competing, but if these companion bills are passed, it would be to the tune of $48 million a year, and it would only grow because this actually affects things like Netflix and the taxability of that. Also, any software that is delivered electronically. A lot of people do things like TurboTax, and they also are now working in the cloud with Microsoft Office. So this would basically really take away the taxability of those types of things, and they're anticipating the first year alone would be $48 million, and then it would increase thereafter as more and more goods and services are delivered electronically that way. So I would recommend that we consider opposing this. It's a really big concern. There was a sheet that was passed out yesterday. They have the impacts on the individual cities that used to collect their own sales tax, and as an example, Mesa would lose $4 million a year, so would, I believe Gilbert would be $3 million a year. It would just have a devastating impact on cities and towns. And so I would recommend council consider opposing this.
Okay. Have they done any analysis to see how the impact against the state too? What
Yes,
they're losing?
I believe I heard, and I might be mistaken, but the state's portion might be $100 million just on the state's portion.
That usually makes them change their mind, because they have a
Right.
budget too.
Exactly.
Okay, any questions on this? Councilman Yates?
I just, for the sake of precedence, our stand that we took on funding education was heard around the state. As I've shared with a lot of folks, I work in a lot of different communities, and I got bombarded. It was very well received. So this does make a difference when we collectively
Absolutely.
go for or against something. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, actually, I had my East Valley Mayor's luncheon, and they all mentioned, hey, we got that education, they called it resolution from Fountain Hills, and I asked them all to jump on it. So,
What's also interesting about this is the House bill is sponsored by Representative Ugenti, which is our legislator. So that would be, I mean, coming from our town, I think would have a lot of impact on, at least on her.
You want a motion?
Yeah, go. Who wants to make it?
Want a motion?
Go ahead.
sure, yeah.
I would, what's the bill number?
It is House Bill 2479 and Senate Bill 1392.
Okay,
I
those
move that we
two.
oppose those two.
Those
whatever the
two.
numbers were.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I guess it's right now, I just saw a note, it's retained in the Senate and hasn't moved since. So if it stops there,
Good,
it stops.
that's a good sign.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
On this legislative?
Oh, yeah, on legislation, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Grady, anything new on the business license legislation?
I didn't see it in this week's legislative bulletin, but the previous one, there was some discussion. Mayor, did you see where
Which one
that,
was that?
the licensing of
Got
professions?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, there's
Just
two.
talk
I
to-
think, are you referring to the one that affects the zoning,
Home-based.
the
So many
home-based
different
one?
Yeah, the home-based one is one.
The zoning one or the?
The zoning one.
Well, the one that allows any business to operate without a license, and they can put up a sign that's whatever size.
I haven't seen
In
any.
the residential?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It was
okay,
the zoning,
okay,
the
okay.
zoning one.
Yeah, okay, that's going to two different committees in the Senate.
Mhm.
One is government, and the other is, I don't know, it's a weird one, commerce or public safety or something, I forget which one. But it's going into two different committees, and that's it. It passed in the House,
Did pass the House?
yes,
Oh, jeez.
but maybe we could stop it in, it's government, John's on government, so hopefully he can help us with that. I can't remember what the other one is, but
Grady-
it's on two separate committees, and I wondered why. I said, why do they put it in two separate ones? And they said, usually that's when the governor doesn't like it, so
Grady,
you can
could
only
you,
hope.
if I may, would you have someone keep a close eye on this?
We
and
will.
Send us emails to let us know.
I know our Development Services Director has been watching this because he and his peers are very concerned about the impact on the communities that they work in.
I just remembered Commerce and Public Safety and Government, it's going to in the Senate. And we talk about that one every Monday. We have the legislative, the call-in, the league call-in, and I'm on that so we keep track of all of it. And then the ones that we discuss, those are the updates that you get in the emails. Okay, but anybody can get on that. You know, if anybody wants to call in, you've got nothing to do Monday at 10 o'clock. Okay, anything else? Any direction to town manager? Any activities anybody wants to talk about? If not, motion to
I'm sorry, but I do have a one.
go.
I would like to have an update on our sign for the entrance from Shea, from the east and from the west.
Sure. I'll go ahead and call on our Public Works Director.
Mayor Kavanaugh, Council Member Tullis, we have placed the order, and it was supposed to be delivered last Thursday, but he assures us that it will be here this week, and so we intend to install it if it gets here in time. If not, it'll be the first of next week.
Councilmember Tullis is referring to the logos or seals that were stolen from the monument signs. So what we would be replacing it with would be a permanent replacement. So we should be getting that momentarily. In fact, I believe once we had those taken, we had to try to find the specifications and they put in the order. So it's taken a while to try to get these from the company.
That is correct. It was a little challenging to create the JPEG for it.
Is that okay if we talk about that? It's not on the agenda.
not
No, it's
okay?
not. I didn't think so. You were giving me that look. Okay. No, we can't talk about that. because it's not agendized. So you can direct Grady to come back with the information.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
Upcoming meeting.
Right, agendize on an upcoming meeting. Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.